I'm VJ Hamilton and welcome to the Autoimmune Reset, the place for you to learn how to thrive with autoimmune disease and feel empowered to take steps to transform your health to feel better than ever. You can start making changes today to improve your health. So with every episode, my mission is to share with you simple ways to up-level your diet and lifestyle with key learnings from my own journey reversing autoimmune disease and inspirational stories from those who have reset their autoimmune symptoms and are now thriving in life. I suffered from autoimmune disease for over 25 years and now I live symptom-free, and I wish the same for you as well. So thank you for being here and sharing this time with me. Now let's get started. Hello and welcome to today's episode of the Autoimmune Reset podcast. I'm your host, VJ Hamilton. I'm a nutritionist, scientist and expert in autoimmune disease. And today we're going to be talking about NAD+. And you may have heard a lot about this nutrient, wondering whether it could be beneficial for you. And so I'm going to chat about what it actually is and how it might help you if you have an autoimmune condition, but also natural ways that you can promote this in your body as well. So that is what we will be touching on today. And before we get started, I just wanted to take a moment to thank all my clients who listen to this podcast, because I feel so grateful for the people that I get to meet through my clinic at the Autoimmunity Nutritionist. And I have worked with some amazing clients over the last few years, and I find my clients so inspirational. I learn a lot from them as well. I probably don't talk about how grateful I am to meet these people as part of what I do. When I see that they get results in their health as well, it just means so much to me. So if you are a client at the moment, or you're a client who I've worked with previously, then I just want to say thank you, because I feel like I have been so lucky with the people that I've worked with. I've actually got a lot of friends out of the work that I do, and I still stay in touch with a lot of my clients. And it's great because I work with clients all over the world as well. I work with clients in Europe, in the US, in Australia. And one of the things I love to do is travel, but one of the reasons for that is that I love meeting people from different countries and understanding different cultures. That is another great thing about what I do. So I realize that I don't talk about that very much on my podcast. I just want to say thank you for anybody listening, and I know a lot of my clients do listen, and yeah, I'm looking forward to continuing to work with you. And if you are a former client, I hope you're still doing really well with your health, and please feel free to get in contact if you need my support. On that note, I know a lot of you will send me messages through the podcast, and this is called podcast fan mail, I think. Unfortunately, I cannot respond to that. So if you are reaching out to me on there, I'm happy to answer your questions on the podcast, but just be aware that I can't respond to those messages. If you do want to reach out to me via the podcast, then please just make sure that you give me your contact details, and then I can respond to you. Or if you just prefer me to be answering your questions on the podcast, I can do that as well. So let's get started and let's talk about NAD. NAD stands for nicotinamide adenine dinucleotide, and most people refer to it as NAD. And you may have seen this in the media because there is lots of discussion about its anti-aging properties. It's discussed a lot in biohacking circles, and even among those who are looking to optimize their energy and cellular function. But you can boost NAD naturally as well, and it may also help with certain autoimmune conditions, and I'm going to be talking about why that is the case. Today we're going to be going through the research. We're going to go through, as I said, practical ways that you can naturally support NAD yourself, and we'll also talk about supplementation and whether that is something for you to consider. And as I always say on the podcast, if you are thinking about supplementing, consult your healthcare provider, because certain nutrients will contraindicate with certain conditions and other medications as well. So NAD is a coenzyme, which means that it helps with enzyme function. And that helps with enzyme function in every cell in the body. And it plays a role in cellular metabolism, energy production, and maintaining overall cellular health. And you know how much I talk about cellular health on this podcast. It is extremely important when it comes to your immune health and recovering from an autoimmune disease, because the cells are often the thing that your immune system is attacking when it comes to an autoimmune condition, especially in more systemic autoimmune conditions like connective tissue disorder or lupus or systemic sclerosis. There's a lot of these autoimmune conditions that will target the cells. So we need to make sure that our cells are functioning well, because without NAD, cells will struggle to generate energy. They'll struggle to repair the damage. Damage to cells is normal, but we need to be able to repair the damage that happens to our cells when there is a toxin, when there is a virus, when there is a bacteria in the body that is disrupting our cellular function. And it can also help to regulate our immune response. NAD levels are highest in our youth, but they naturally decline with age. However, when it comes to an autoimmune disease, the decline can happen faster due to the chronic inflammation, which we know is a factor in an autoimmune condition, oxidative stress, and the immune system being overactive. And that can actually lower those NAD levels. And this is why it is important to focus on NAD. And the problem with a lot of these nutrients, or even the protocols that are recommended for autoimmune conditions, is that they then become almost like a fad and people don't take them seriously. And I find that a lot with gluten. I know how much going gluten-free has impacted my health for the better. But when I mention gluten-free, even now, I feel like people just think it's a fad. And for some people, especially if you have celiac disease, it is absolutely vital for your health to be gluten-free. And I think that's the same when it comes to these products that are now associated with longevity. But actually, a lot of the products that are associated with longevity are also very important for autoimmune conditions, because when you have an autoimmune condition, it is almost like your body is being aged, because you have a lot of the symptoms of aging. And the good thing is that this can be reversed, because as I always say, I felt worse in my 20s than I do now in my 40s. So you can reverse it, but your body is in more of an aging state when you have chronic inflammation and a chronic condition. And what we want to do is try and reverse that. And that's why when you are learning about longevity and the nutrients that are helpful for that, they are ordinarily going to be good for an autoimmune condition as well. Low NAD levels are linked to symptoms that are commonly experienced in an autoimmune condition, like chronic fatigue, because when NAD is low, energy production in the cells slows down. It can be linked to brain fog, because reduced NAD affects cognitive function and mental clarity. Low NAD is also associated with poor recovery, because cells are struggling to repair the damage, making it harder to recover from flares and daily stress, because we can't avoid this. So we need to make sure that our health is optimal, so that it can recover from the stressful experiences and the times that our body is more likely to become damaged, whether it's from being ill, being stressed, from having lack of sleep. We want to make sure it's got all the nutrients to be able to recover properly, so that it doesn't develop into something like an autoimmune condition. So let's talk about the key roles of NAD in the body. The first is that it helps with energy production, and the mitochondria are the powerhouse of our cells, and they are responsible for producing something called ATP, which is the primary energy currency in the body. And NAD is essential for this process, because it helps shuffle electrons during cellular respiration, which is a biochemical process that converts nutrients into usable energy. And when my clients do the metabolomic panel, which I also call my cell health test, and this is one of the reasons for it, there's a really lovely demonstration in the results which looks at this process in the body, and it will give you an indication of whether this process is working efficiently based on whether certain compounds are building up in the blood. And I find it really, really helpful because it allows me to understand where a particular issue is in my client's cellular health, and then I can take a more targeted approach when I'm helping them. And of course, in an autoimmune condition, mitochondrial dysfunction is extremely common and contributes to chronic fatigue. It can contribute to muscle weakness and low endurance. And when NAD levels decline, the mitochondria become less efficient at producing energy, making you feel constantly drained. So, for example, I've worked with clients with multiple sclerosis who often experience symptoms of fatigue, and that is for the most part due to this mitochondrial dysfunction. So boosting NAD levels can help support ATP production and improve energy availability. And one of the areas that I will focus on when I'm working with clients with multiple sclerosis is improving the mitochondrial dysfunction. When they do go ahead with the testing, it is obviously one of the key areas that I look into for them, because it is known in the scientific literature to be a major contributing factor when it comes to the symptoms of multiple sclerosis. Another thing that NAD does in the body is helps with DNA repair and helps to protect your cells. Because as I said, cells undergo damage every day from inflammation, environmental toxins, and oxidative stress. So we know that when this happens, we need to make sure that our body is robust and that it is able to repair any damage that is being done to prevent that developing into anything more serious. And NAD is crucial for activating those repair enzymes, particularly what are called the PARPs, which are the poly-ADP ribose polymerases, and they help to fix damaged DNA and prevent mutations. And in autoimmune disease, chronic inflammation leads to cellular stress and DNA damage. And if your cells can't repair themselves properly, then this can contribute to disease progression and even worsening symptoms. I see oxidative stress a lot in systemic lupus, which damages DNA. So when I'm working with clients with systemic lupus, I'm really thinking about what are the best ways that we can make sure that their DNA is healthy, because there is an argument to say that it is because there is a disruption in the cells that your immune system is targeting those cells. And if we focus more on improving their cellular health and making sure that they have all the nutrients to keep their DNA healthy, then that can make a huge difference. And one of the nutrients which is really important for that is also folate. And what I find with clients that are having more of these systemic type autoimmune symptoms, they have low folate. And again, that's tested on the metabolomics panel. And I will put a link to that in the show notes just in case you want to find out more about that. When folate is low, it means that your methylation process, which helps to repair damaged DNA, isn't working as effectively. But NAD also has a role in that, because that can help to improve cellular resistance, which potentially could help with conditions that are more systemic in nature when it comes to autoimmune disease like lupus. NAD also helps with immune regulation and inflammation control because it modulates the immune system activity, and that is through its influence on these molecules called sirtuins. And sirtuins are proteins that help regulate inflammation, the stress response, and cell survival. When NAD levels are high, sirtuins can function properly, and that helps to reduce that excessive inflammation which you ordinarily see in an autoimmune condition. But when NAD is low, these sirtuins become less effective, and that can contribute to this uncontrolled immune response and immune dysfunction that can happen in an autoimmune condition. And that's why maintaining optimal NAD levels is really vital if you have an autoimmune condition. And as I said, there are supplements that you can take, but also there are some natural approaches to ensuring that your NAD levels stay optimal, which I'll be touching on in a moment. So NAD is essential for energy, repair, and immune regulation. And when your levels fall, you're more likely to have symptoms like fatigue, brain fog, and inflammation. And there are various reasons why your levels will fall. That could relate to age, chronic illness, or inflammation. And we need to make sure that we maintain those adequate levels because they're going to help to improve mitochondrial function, enhance DNA repair, and regulate your immune response. So what does the research say when it comes to NAD, especially around autoimmune conditions? There is research out there around NAD and immune regulation, and I will link to this research in the show notes. Because NAD is such a vital coenzyme in cellular metabolism and energy production, they have found in studies that it can help to maintain those enzyme levels, like the sirtuins that I mentioned, but also the PARPs. That suggests that NAD could actually have a key role in modulating the immune activity and inflammation. And there was a preliminary study which was looking at the role of NAD in multiple sclerosis and administering NAD to animals, and this was a mouse study, but it just showed that it reduced the onset of the condition, and it also influenced T cells, which are a really vital component of the immune system. They can cause a lot of the damage in autoimmune conditions because they can be pro-inflammatory. So it showed that it helped to regulate that response. And again, it's an animal study. It was a study done in mice, and that is going to be different to how it's going to affect human beings, but it is still very encouraging to see that it may help with that. There was also a study looking at NAD precursors and inflammation, and it revealed that when people supplemented with a different nutrient called nicotinamide riboside, that it had anti-inflammatory effects, and it showed to be beneficial for both healthy individuals and in immune cells derived from psoriasis patients. So it just shows that it could potentially help to modulate the immune response in conditions like psoriasis as well. Research has also shown that it can help to activate astrocytes in the central nervous system, and we know the central nervous system is a key factor in a lot of autoimmune conditions, including autoimmune conditions like multiple sclerosis. And NAD was shown to modulate the astrocyte pro-inflammatory response, and that could potentially be a therapeutic target for multiple sclerosis. So whilst these findings are promising, it is essential to approach NAD with caution, especially when it comes to supplementation, because there is complexity with anything, and NAD metabolism is going to be different for everyone. So the timing, dosage, and specific autoimmune condition is going to be different. So we need further research into specific conditions, how this applies to humans, and how it can apply to healthy adults with chronic illness, and also children. As with most things, there is a lot more research and a lot more insight to come in this area. But again, it is very encouraging given the preliminary studies that have been done to date. So let's talk about how you can boost NAD naturally, because there are several ways that you can do that. So you can eat foods that support NAD production in your body. One being tryptophan-rich foods, which is included in salmon, eggs, and turkey, because tryptophan is a precursor to NAD. Niacin, which is vitamin B3, is also a precursor to NAD. Niacin helps to convert the building blocks of NAD into NAD. So without it, you may have low NAD levels, and some great sources of niacin are mushrooms, peanuts, and leafy greens, and they're going to give you those essential building blocks which are going to help with the production of NAD. And then polyphenol-rich foods like blueberries, matcha, and pomegranates can help to reduce oxidative stress and protect those NAD pathways, which are so vital in producing NAD. They've also shown that intermittent fasting can help to increase NAD levels, and there's been a lot of research, and you've probably heard a lot about intermittent fasting in the longevity space, but that can also be beneficial because it helps to increase NAD levels. Of course, if you have adrenal issues or blood sugar instability, then intermittent fasting might not be for you. One of the ways that you can start to incorporate it into your daily life is to have a 12-hour break from eating, whether that be from 7 p.m. till 7 a.m, and then see if you can extend the window. But you just need to make sure that you're doing what's right for you when it comes to fasting. And if you have any questions about that, then feel free to send me a DM on Instagram at the Autoimmunity Nutritionist, and I can respond to you on that. Prioritizing strength training and movement has also been shown to help with NAD production. So resistance training and aerobic exercise can be beneficial, and that can also help to improve your mitochondrial health. So just having a routine where you're incorporating different types of exercise. And for example, I will go for a run a couple of times a week. I do strength training about 2 to 3 times a week. And then I also will do my Pilates training as well. And I just fit that in throughout my week. I'm lucky to have a reformer at home because I trained as a Pilates instructor, so I can use my reformer here. I have some weights at home. So it can just easily weave into my lifestyle, even when I have a lot going on. And it really helps me to make sure that I stay on track, because if I have to go to the gym, or I have to go to an appointment, or I have to go to a class and I have other things on, then it isn't always easy to stick to. But I do find when I've got the weights at home and I can just go for a run anytime I need to, and also have my reformer, there are plenty of Pilates mat classes that you can do online as well. That just makes it simple for you, and then you can go to a class or you can go to the gym when convenient, and obviously work to your own baseline. At the minute, you can build up over time. It's taken me a long time to get to this point. Yeah, just do what feels right for you. And as I say to all of my clients, just make sure you're retaining 20% of your energy when you do any exercise, and you should be feeling good after exercise, not completely depleted. And leveraging heat and cold therapy have been shown to help increase NAD levels. A sauna can stimulate these heat shock proteins, which help to protect the cells and improve mitochondrial function. And then cold exposure, like cold showers and ice baths, trigger hormetic strength, and that encourages your body to produce more NAD. I have never really got into the cold exposure therapy, and it is something that I am planning to add to my routine this year. I used to have a lot of cold intolerance, especially when I was dealing with thyroid issues. I've always just been very scared of the cold since then, but I don't seem to get as affected by the cold. But given that it can help with mitochondrial function and NAD production, I think it's a good thing for me to start incorporating. So that's why I'm going to be focusing on it and just building that up over time. I'll be starting with a cold shower for just a minute at the end of my shower. That's all I'm going to do for now, and then build up over time. And I know that there are some places locally that have ice baths, so I may do some breath work and then try an ice bath after getting into more of a pattern with my breath work as well, because I've heard that helps tremendously. But I know a lot of my clients will do cold exposure and feel the benefits. So it's also beneficial when it comes to NAD production as well. Of course, optimizing sleep and circadian rhythm is absolutely key, because poor sleep disrupts NAD metabolism. So aiming for consistent sleep-wake cycles, have a bedtime, get up at the same time every day, expose yourself to that morning sunlight. The weather is getting better now. You can grab a cup of tea, just go outside, get the sunlight into your eyes, and that can make such a huge difference. And reducing blue light at night to enhance natural NAD production. You can buy blue light blocking glasses as well. And when the sun goes down, I'll always put my blue light blocking glasses on. And then, as I said, you consider strategic supplementation as well. if that is something that you have discussed with your healthcare provider. There is niacinamide, which is vitamin B3, and it's a cost-effective way to support NAD production without the high price tag. There is also resveratrol and quercetin, which are plant compounds that enhance that sirtuin activation, so it can really help with the immune system and immune regulation. And then alpha lipoic acid, ALA, which supports mitochondrial health and works alongside NAD. I have recently set up a shop on health, and I have recommended my favourite NAD supplement over there, so you can check that out. I will put the link to that in the show notes. But as I said, if you are thinking about any type of supplementation, then check this with your healthcare provider first, just to make sure there are no contraindications for you. So if you are looking for that extra boost, then it is extremely important to look for a high quality supplement. If you want to try it naturally first, then I've given you some recommendations for you to try. I like to incorporate all these different practices into my life, not just for NAD production, but because they help with so many different areas as well. And I suppose that is the thing when you think about supplementing, is that you are just taking that one nutrient. Whereas if you did a sauna or you do some movement or exercise, you're going to get far more benefit than just the NAD production, whereas a supplement is just focusing on that key system. So as much as I support supplementation and I recommend supplementation to my clients as well, I really think you should be doing all the natural activities and eating a good variety of different foods to help with that in the first instance. But sometimes, just to accelerate our recovery, supplementation can help as well. And dependent on what I'm doing, whether I'm training more, whether I'm just not feeling my best, if I've been ill, then I will certainly be taking some supplements to help me to recover and get better as soon as I can. And at the minute, because of the time of year, I've started running again and doing longer runs, and because of that, I almost go back to what I was doing when I was healing from my autoimmune condition. I focus on supporting my adrenal health, making sure that I'm getting the key nutrients that I need so I don't get depleted, focusing on my electrolytes, my proteins, the different amino acids that I need to support myself. And these are all things that were part of my recovery as well, but they are things that I use now to maintain my health and when I'm putting extra stress on my body. And that's exactly where I want my clients to get to. I want them to be in a position that when they are feeling better, that they know what they need for their bodies when they are going through stress or going through grief, or when something happens in their life, they know what they need. And I would say that is the number one thing that's helped me with my own health, understanding the signs of inflammation and knowing what my body needs, and doing genetic testing actually really helped me as well. So if you are interested in genetic testing, because that can give you a good insight into where you have potential weaknesses in your body, then feel free to get in contact and I can share more details about that as well. So if you have any questions about NAD or anything about autoimmune disease, please let me know. I am doing a live Q&A next Friday in the Autoimmune Forum, so I'd love to see you over there. It's 1 p.m. UK time, and I will be going live in the group answering your questions about autoimmune conditions, nutrition, or any other questions that you've got for me. And yeah, because it's Autoimmune Disease Awareness Month, I thought what better than to have a live session with you, answer your questions and see what's relevant for you at the moment, so that I know how I can help you and support you in the future. So I'll look forward to seeing you there if you can make it. If not, have a fantastic rest of your week and I'll speak to you soon. Take care. Thank you very much for joining me today on the Autoimmune Reset. I really hope you enjoyed the discussion, and be sure to subscribe to the podcast so that you never miss an episode. And if you liked it, I would hugely appreciate a review on iTunes, as it helps me understand what you like about the podcast and to help share the information with more people. I'm excited to speak to you next time, and remember, you have the power to take the reins on your health. So keep the faith and celebrate the small wins. Until next time.